alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuhu. This is day 4 with Emil with Chelban, and today we're going to talk about Feng Shui and Radionics. How are you, Emil, today?
I'm well, thanks. And yourself?
I am so good today to have you here again and learn more stuff from you. So, getting back to Feng Shui, can you explain what is Feng Shui?
So traditionally, it's a Chinese technique of balancing the environment uh, with the people that are living in that environment. So it could be how the buildings are planned in a community, which direction doors face, where different rooms in the house are meant for different things. And that'll be based on the elementals plus the direction.
Mhm.
So at one point, all the homes would be facing north in certain parts of China because the Mongolians would attack from the north. So there'd be a barrier in between there, and everyone always came in through the south. And these directions can, in the traditional observation, deal with your health, your wealth, relationships, knowledge. There's 9 different segments that it looks at. And it's not just Chinese, like the traditional Christians would always build churches facing the east at one point because they're waiting for their ideas of Christ. And then it switched to all their churches facing west because they're waiting for the next incarnation of him to reappear.
Yeah.
So it's not just Chinese, but Chinese is very intricate, also deals with some astrology, but magnetic compass is a big part of it.
Mhm.
So essentially, how do you take advantage of your natural surroundings or not? There'd be places where they would never build homes. They'd be very unsafe for people to live in. So they can tell by the different weather patterns or understanding geopathic stress and what have you. So
Right.
that's feng shui
Mhm.
traditionally with the Chinese. And then by the time Mao and the Cultural Revolution was done, that was turned into a superstition.
Oh.
Even though by the great dynasties like Tang Dynasty, that very much incorporated it into that culture.
Yeah.
So you're looking at intentionally setting up your home and your environment and your community just for better feelings, more focus, better spiritual connection, what have you.
Mhm. So, how does radionics complement or enhance traditional feng shui and practices when you apply to a living workplace or um yeah.
So what I do is not a lot of city planning necessarily will look at where to build homes. So you have to deal with what you have, or there could be many people living in that location over years with just how the society is built.
Mhm.
So you can look at any imbalances that are in your home or your business. It could be even for real estate. If there's a troubled home or business to sell, you can reharmonize the environment. Even business people use it to get better or more clients because now you're using this a better energetic in the subtle realm, and with intention you'll have more what you're seeking to gain.
Right. So if there was a place where there was mass murder, someone was assassinated, something is related to those places or energies, some kind of energies are emitted from there. Could you elaborate a bit?
Well, I've done balancing for people that have had serious issues in their homes. So one example is one room that was rented out by one client. Whoever was staying in that room had the life-changing disasters happen to them.
Yeah.
So we rebalanced that home and never had any issue like that again.
Mm.
But with that, the client did look into the history of where that home was built, and it was built on some type of murder or war happened there
Mm.
in the Toronto area. I forget the details of that, but anyway, she looked into it, and sure enough, there was
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah, I think it was a mass killing, if I remember correct.
Yeah. So most of the times, I think when in our culture, like the Islamic culture, if we move into a new house, we rent a new place, or we buy a new place, we would usually go to every houses, do the adhan or the prayers, and then ask the entity, if there is any entity, to leave, because we are here intentions living in this house. Um. So
People will ask me before they buy a home. They'll give me the coordinates and a picture, and is this a good home for them?
yeah.
Or
So
if they're really set on it, could you balance it? So when we deal with entities and things like that with radionics, so it is quite helpful for a
and some people have these extra, like, sensations. They would sense a lot of things. Like my husband's granddad, he memorized the whole Quran, and he was a pious man, mosque going person. And um, their mom was thinking to buy a house, and when they went into to see a house they wanted to buy, so his granddad saw these creatures in a specific room, and then he said no. So probably they communicated with him or something, or he saw a vision or a glance. I'm not sure, but he sensed that there were some entities and jinns, so they did not buy that house. But Emil, can you share examples or case studies where radionics have been utilized to improve the spiritual and energetic balance of a home according to Feng Shui principles?
I can give an example of what's occurring right now with an organization I'm involved with in the US. So in many of those communities, there's a lot of violence in schools.
Mm.
So they're taking the initiative to uh, clean and balance those environments. And there's a lot of interesting results coming out of there.
Mm.
Really, if you can get to it when there's not so many people in the school, so during summer, Christmas breaks,
Mhm.
it is easier to balance.
Mhm.
There's less energies going there because there's in some of those schools, there's thousands of children.
Mhm.
And they actually one thing they'll find is when they clean the schools, some people that are have very negative vibes, they don't go back to school, whether it was a teacher or a student.
So the
So,
people get those negative vibes, or people are negative? What do you mean? Sorry.
so the ones that are in a really negative state,
Yeah.
once school's been rebalanced, they don't want to go to that school anymore.
Oh, yeah. Makes sense.
So that was very interesting. That happened in a few communities in our group.
So, but Emil, would you directly work on the people or the occupants in that space and with their intentions or with their goals, or it's just the space when you're working on a
The space.
space? So the negative people will automatically leave.
They won't resonate with that environment anymore, and they'll seek out something else.
Wow.
Just like a vampire, like somebody that always vampires people's energies, whether in a relationship,
Yeah.
romantically, or at work, or even on television.
Yeah.
They're gaining these, they're feeding off of those negative energies, and once you've rebalanced the environment,
Yeah.
they're not so comfortable there.
Like I can resonate with what you say coming from, very Muslim environment, because there is and people listening to this would resonate as well, because there is a saying of Muhammad, peace be upon him. He said, if you don't recite the Quran in the house, it will be like a graveyard. So and whenever you come in the house, you have to say salam. Salam just means like peace. So salam alaikum, like anybody coming, and you come from outside, come with the right foot in, step in your house with the right foot, say salam, and then if there is any evil, uh, you know, anything, it would just automatically back off. So those are some things when you talk, they just come in my mind, because I've read the literature, and I'm making these connections, and it is so interesting. But how does the integration of radionics principles contribute to a creation of a sacred or spiritually attuned space um, within a home? And what transformations have been observed in the overall atmosphere?
Radionics does work in some parts, kind of how you just described. When we look at getting rid of stressors, the environment is a lot more peaceful. There's tranquility, there's just a sense of comfort. So then the person is going to come from a different people in that home. They won't have the stressors holding them down so that they can share more of the positive energy
Hmm.
and have a better focus, better sleep, all those sorts of things, because your nervous system isn't so overburdened with all these subtle energies that are not in tune for you or your
And
family.
what about like heightened sense of tranquility and calmness? So these are some energies which can you transfer if you are in a negative environment and you are a calm person. Could you transfer your calmness to at least the people around you or to
Oh yeah, yeah,
mm,
and vice versa. So
okay.
if you're one big part of my consultations or my personal practice is releasing tension.
Mm. I was
So
really interested to know what are those practices, and well, maybe one day. Who knows?
yeah, and so for me, that's really important. I even named one of my teas after that because that's how much it can change your experience in life.
Sorry, what teas?
I have one tea blend that has a lot of adaptogens in, so I call it tension release.
Oh.
So one thing is why I kind of term this feng shui also is um, if you came to me for a balancing or to see where your liver's at or your whatever the issue is.
Okay.
Now, if you don't take care of your water or your home,
Mm.
that's the environment that's putting a lot of stress on your.
So hard to educate people about their lifestyles and bringing them to this point where health is not, a magic bullet. It's changing the whole lifestyle from water, environment, home, and people around you and influences on you, the books you read, the dreams you have. There is so much. And to my audience, I really want to point out one thing. I was trying Emil's is it woman's? Forgot
Oh
the
yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
the woman's menstrual tea, and it was amazing. Like it worked wonders for me. I've been trying so hard to bring my menstrual cycle in proper balance, and because I've got pregnancies after every 2 years, and tea was amazing. It was all herbal stuff, natural. It had no side effects. Even now, I try it like every month. I go on, sip a few sips on it. It's amazing. I can't explain you how amazingly it just balanced out the whole cycle.
Well, that particular tea I formulated to remineralize the female body.
Mhm.
So it's more than just for menstruation too, but that's a big issue. But also I use when I make a batch of tea, I'll use the radionics to infuse more mineral frequencies or other positive effects for the
Yeah,
human
but
body.
overall, I could not even feel the pain of my menstrual cycle. That is something which I've never experienced in my entire life, and um, I don't know. I can't explain. Like the cycles going back to where they were in the teens. So anybody who has menstrual issues, I would put up the link below to Emil's woman's tea. You better try that out. Going on.
And with the feng shui too, though, but if you take care of your body,
Yeah.
then the water in your garden and you're using the water to grow things, to bathe in properly. But if you had more people in your community do this, your community would brighten.
Mm.
Or it could go the other way, right? We all know about very dangerous communities or just a bad vibe around those. That could be all lifted and then expanded towards uh, whole cities or provinces, countries.
Oh, yes. And the water is a big issue. Like somebody who's trying herbal tea, but the water's not pure. So it could go reverse.
You're Muslim, there's all sorts of religions or
Yeah.
other societies or organizations.
Yes.
If you step into something like radionics that interests you,
Yeah.
I've met nothing but excellent people, elderly people, and the conversations you have, they add to your life instead of just, uh, you know, hypnotizing oneself on YouTube, listening to whatever you want to listen to. You're
Oh,
gonna
yes.
get something from other people in your community, and those communities aren't valued as much as they used to be. I don't think that they don't seem to be, anyways.
This was actually my next question. That can you discuss any challenges or considerations when applying radionics to spiritual house wellness, especially when dealing with diverse belief systems or cultural differences?
Basically, yeah, some people are have misconstrued ideas on spirituality and even the negative parts, the
Yeah.
dangerous parts. They're not, once you have a foundation, they're probably not as scary as you
Exactly.
think when you're in an ignorant
Don't
state.
dare to talk about it, and they don't want to, because those entities they also have their own worlds. You know,
Mhm.
yeah, they exist, and a lot of jinns they exist in families. They've got children and they marry and they have their own belief systems. They have their own cultures. So this is coming from my Islamic perspective. I don't know about you, Emil, though, but the jinns, we know that they have their own world, feelings, and they have their foods and they have their own lifestyles. But I don't know about spirits. Like the spirits, there would be, somebody was murdered and his spirit is still wandering around, or that part I don't really understand, really, um, in a way. Um, but yeah, if you can elaborate on that.
Sometimes it appears that some of these spirits are stuck here. They don't know that they've died.
Right.
So
Yes.
they don't know to move on. And in our culture, there's a whole system when someone passes away.
Mhm.
There's the crying or making loud noises, dancing in a certain way, and that's not necessarily to relieve our sadness.
Mm.
It's to help make that spirit go back to the heavens.
True. And sometimes some people are like martyred. So there is a verse in the Quran where it says that martyrs are alive and you cannot see them. Now, how are they alive and how do they contribute to the physical world, or they just, stay in another realm and we are not sure about it? But yeah, we know that their spirit is alive. So,
Some people can see them and some people can't.
yeah.
I think everybody could, but most people don't. It's like you say, the traditional feng shui got turned into a superstition, and many cultures have
Yes.
the the subjective world is useless. It's all just logic.
Right. And
But
they don't.
I've done a lot of work with people that have died in fires,
Mm,
right? They're living in a hotel
yeah.
in downtown of a city, and they still think that they're on this planet. They didn't know that they died. So when you communicate, and even with parasites or other negative entities, with radionics, what I was taught, the first thing is to, with the intent, speak to those spirits or those parasites and let them know where they're at.
Right.
Quite often, a lot of those so-called negatives don't even know that they're in your body or living in your home. And then once they're brought to awareness, they'll leave. Not always.
Yeah.
That's where the locks come in. Like, how strong is it? Maybe they really do like to be, some of them like to be here and torture people, but not most of them don't, in my experience.
And then they're assigned by a magician, or some people say, like, I've seen these stories on when they do ruqya or exorcism, that the jinn says that my family is trapped with the older Satan who's assigning them jobs, and he won't let them go if I don't do work for him.
Mhm.
So my children are at stake, or sometimes the demon they ask the small jinns to kill their own children for the sake of worshiping the demon. And these stories have come up, and the jinn is like, I can leave your house or leave your body if you um, sacrifice your child for the demon. But of course, the human beings, they don't want to do that. Is and they, the the Raki starts reciting Quran on him further, giving in it gives him torture. It actually gives him a lot of pain, and the similar kind of pain is felt by the body in which he is possessed. So these kinds of stories I've seen a lot in the Islamic uh, world. Yeah, there's a lot of magic in Africa and Asia parts, and a lot of people use jinns for their own benefits. But there's always some kind of a contract between them. So I'm not
It's a
in.
fascinating area because,
Yeah,
yeah, spirits are used for negative gain quite often, but also the other way around. And we think that's okay if it's for what we perceive as good.
yeah. If you can use it for the benefits of, there is a person who does that, and on a bigger scale organization. I don't want to take his name, but he uses jinns for the benefit of good organizations. So there are people doing it. Yeah. So, in what terms of water resources, like how does radionics contribute to the spiritual wellness of water, and what specific qualities or intentions are typically incorporated into the treatments?
But water's it's a very good element for holding intention.
Hmm.
So, and we're bathed in water essentially everywhere we are, and our body is a large percentage of water. So, for me to take to look at water in depth as a health resource is basically common sense. And then understanding a lot of the studies of how the energetics and the memory works in water, then you can apply it for health benefits. And radionics is excellent with water, and our device uses distilled water with the frequencies.
So, would radionics help in softening the hot water?
It won't soften your water, no.
Okay, physically.
Physically, it can decalcify your pipes in your home though.
Hmm. And how is that possible? Because some people I know they're using magnetic uh, field forces or something to decalcify the pipes, but how does radionics work?
Well, the vortexing of the water going through, if you apply one of our vials to your water intake, will help with that.
Mhm.
There are physical structuring water devices that you could put onto your water intake also that will work a lot faster, to be honest with you. Now, with the hard water though, once you use radionics, a lot of the of that water, the minerals that are in that water that are dangerous, we work at neutralizing that.
And does that include the hardness, the calcium carbonate part, or?
So the types of calcium that could be, or the balance of calcium in your water, those can be minimized so they're not as harmful to your body and can actually be balanced in a way that could be beneficial for your body.
So along with the physical vortexing, you can apply radionics, and do you advise any other treatment, magnetic or
Oh, there's some magnetics. I work with a company called Crystal Blue water structuring units, and that could be for agriculture, your home, or just your shower.
Mhm.
And that's the best water structuring unit I've found.
Okay.
And that will get if you have build up in your pipes, like the first couple of weeks you apply this to your home, you'll have cloudy water because it's cleaning that out through the vortexing. Plus that crystal blue has a mineral that I believe there's only two mines in the world that get this particular mineral. And we have the rights to both of those mines. So it's the only one that they add the crystals in the glass cut in a certain way into the water structuring unit.
Yeah.
So that's really good
So
if
those
people can afford
crystals
that.
that also structure the water?
Crystal blue,
Yeah.
that's a water structuring unit. Yeah.
Is that one of your life crystals?
No, the life crystals is a different medicine.
Okay.
Crystal blue is a company out of yeah, it's a
Yeah.
company out of Denver, Colorado that makes water structuring units. You probably the thing with water structuring though, you still if you get your test done,
Mhm.
and if you have hard water, you still need a water softener.
Okay, so that's what the lady was asking, that they have hard water, they've tried water softeners, they don't want to put chemicals. So is there any alternative method to soften it? And I think I would just put her in touch with you. Um,
Yeah, and that's where feng shui would have come in handy, right? You
yes.
know not to build there if that water isn't suitable to human life, because not there's spring water and there's well water and there's all these types of waters, and there are places that are more suitable than others, and sometimes you have to compromise. I think dangers of a city like the geopathic stress and
Yeah.
having these systems under these homes that are sometimes old and rotting piping, but still a lot of flow of dead water. That underneath your house is damaging to your body. Different types of aquifers, that's what dowsing was used for. So you know not to build here, or you can build here. Because if you build here, you will get a lot of negative radiations or frequencies. Now, nobody cares about that really anymore, right? We just build on top of whatever. Garbage dumps, even like in Calgary. Communities are built on old garbage dumps.
Canadian lakes are literally they're dumped with this garbage. It's sad. Um, Emil, going on to our next question. What advice do you have for individuals who are seeking to use radionics for spiritual, house, and water wellness, for balancing electromagnetic fields in their homes? And how can they align these practices with their own spiritual beliefs or practices?
If you want to rebalance your home with radionics, that's great, and water, but that should be one piece of it. If you're interested, look into basic feng shui principles. I know a lot of literature might just be kind of watered down items, but to make your home living again with the right amount of plants, the right type of plants, having each room that's facing a certain way might be more beneficial for a family room or a bedroom or your office.
Mhm.
And just to have more intentional setup of your house and your yard. And the other thing is for spiritual practices. So if you have a clear intention, you make this a focus, a daily focus, and hopefully you even have a room or a place in your yard that's there for you to put your mindset into your spiritual time.
It's so important, Emil, to have the right intention. And I really want to point out to the Muslim community here that the the people who perform black magic, they use Quran, and those who want to use it in for their own worship can use it with the right intention for their own spirituality to take out, goodness from it. But it's absolutely your intention the way you want to carry out anything. And the same for radionics, I think. Like, um, Emil, if you can further tell us, how do you work on your intentions?
Personally, outside of radionics,
Yes. I
well, the
went to you as
Tai Chi and Qigong practices. So one thing there is creating your dragon's den. So a place that's very comfortable. your Tingshaw's where it has to be, you have the right chair, you're setting up a daily routine. And as you build that, eventually it goes to maybe 5, 10, 20 minutes of sitting quietly to get your intention to being automatic. That might take 5, 10 years, depending on, what level you want to get at, what your standards are, what you personally need.
Right.
But our system of quiet sitting, and that's kind of like a meditation, but it's not. So we're scanning the body, paying attention to thoughts that aren't our own coming into our mind. Then there's a stretching practice, a standing practice, and then a moving practice. And then to do that every day, and ideally do it in nature as much as possible. So in the winter, I don't do that so much. I should pressure myself to do more of that because I live in a cold climate, but I've actually moved intentionally for a few years just to practice in the mountains where there's a waterfall.
Wow, that is
Right? So you can do all that sort of thing. I would recommend anybody do that if they're into that. Like, don't just sit in your city house or apartment
yeah,
or going to some church that's probably hasn't been cleaned out
right.
just for money and convenience. Like, there should be a time in your life where you can, that's my opinion, go to wherever you have to go.
Oh, you're absolutely right. I've spent 10 years in the desert in Qatar, and my nafs like myself would um like hunt for nature. And this was a quest. Like, I wanted to be near mountains and waterfalls. And so even if you put a fake video of forest being in the Amazon somewhere on YouTube, it doesn't work like that. So you have to be in that space, feeling the energies around you with the water flowing, the trees, and the birds are singing and talking, and then you start listening to everything around you. Like, you can even observe the insects, and it is so beautiful that I don't want to go back to any city life ever. This
Yeah.
is yeah,
They were famous for talking to trees and
yeah,
different animals, and it's like you're not talking English.
yeah,
Like when
exactly.
I talked to my fish when they had that disaster in the fish tank, the sharks spoke to me in a dream, and
And we're losing on water.
yeah. But some of the things I've seen practicing intention work in the forest,
Mm,
in the mountains, you can't even explain it.
yeah, kind of.
People think you're crazy, but I've seen some crazy things over the years.
And there's one really famous story about where in Madagascar, when they have to kill or they have to cut trees, all the people in the village would just come surround the tree and start cursing and abusing it, and the tree would eventually, in a couple of days, die out. So that was their ritual practices of cutting off, getting rid of any trees if they wanted to. And it just clearly shows how everything it gets affected from the words you speak, from the feelings you transmit, from how connected we are um, to nature, to everything. Yeah.
Our practice is that if we're going to go take trees for some reason, you have to take a gift to the forest. So there's certain, if you need like pine needles, there's certain needles that you pick and you don't pick. There's trimming of trees that's necessary for a healthy forest. So sometimes do that. Sometimes you have to take the whole tree, but you leave something. Indians will leave tobacco quite often
Mhm.
for making essential oils. You'd leave some of your oil, anything. It doesn't matter really.
So what
So
when you have to cut them out, you have to leave. I didn't get you properly. Sorry.
so if you're going to take anything from the forest, you leave something. It
Okay.
has to be an exchange.
Oh yes.
Same as like anything, whether it's the martial arts training, I have to give something to my shifu, otherwise I don't receive the information as well. Or radionics, there's some type of payment that has to go through so that there's a buy-in on both sides. And that applies in nature for us too. So anything we take, we leave something.
Yes.
Gratitude is basically the.
Yeah, living in a city, we forget that the earth is paying the price. Even before switching on the electric bulb, we should think twice. Yeah, absolutely. Makes sense. So my last question for you, Emil, today, and then I can let you go. How do you approach the integration of radionics with other spiritual practices or rituals that are there any synergies or conflicts that practitioners should be aware of?
Radionics, one thing I learned was doesn't like it doesn't matter to me what happens. I don't. I was taught you don't if you can let go and just let your intentions work, it'll work out fine. Otherwise, it won't. Create barriers so you'll get inaccurate readings or what have you. So one of the synergies is just to I have my place, my device is always in the same place. I have to be relaxed or well rested, otherwise I won't work on a home or somebody.
Yeah.
So set up that um, habit and just let the work flow. So there's the synergies of understanding that everything has a spirit, everything has its place, even things that you label bad. Like if there's compassion, how did it get to be bad? And how can we remedy this?
Right.
Um, so yeah, for me, just try to be pure in thought and intention and not try to work too hard at something um, so that it clouds the judgment.
So if you look at the first grade, or I think in the second grade of school, they've taught us in science, these are the living matters and these are the non-living matters, and these are the things which have life in it, these are the things which don't have life in it. And water was one of the non-living things, and the stones and mountains and all of these were the non-living things, and then
Oh, really?
yeah. And then these are the living things which speak, touch, sense, all the five senses. But then later on, when you read the scriptures or you read other religious rituals from other cultures, and there are so many stories you can find that people could talk to a rock, and people could, understand what the mountains are trying to say, or
Yeah.
things around them. So, what is your understanding of this animist approach?
Yeah. Everything has life and a spirit. There's like people think trees don't have a spirit or life. Is
Yeah.
that true?
Trees are living. Yeah, they're living because
Oh, but water's dead?
water's dead.
Yeah,
And
sometimes water is dead, but
yeah,
it's
like we discussed in the stagnant. Um,
yeah, yeah,
good.
but generally water is the most alive thing there is. Otherwise, you wouldn't be alive. I understand like there's a in biochemistry organic and inorganic matter.
Yes.
So that basically organic matter will have carbon usually attached to a hydrogen bond. And but it doesn't mean that's because it's organic, that's the only thing that's alive. It's talking about carbon.
Hmm. Yeah. I think it's
Mountains, like anybody that thinks mountains are dead, I don't understand that. I've never heard that in my life.
yeah.
Anybody could go to a mountain and see that's not true.
No, probably Emil. I don't know if you've been through a schooling system, but that's how they indoctrinate you with these sciences. And now it's
A
like,
mountain range in Kelowna for the Indian friend of mine, and
yes.
it's an old man lying down. That's what they call it, and they think he's gonna sit up again, but it looks like a giant old man,
Mm.
right? But there's irregardless of how you take that teaching, they
Mm,
know darn well that the mountain's alive.
right. So I think the spiritual world would be personally for everybody at their own personal journey, how much they get open to it and how much they perceive things in their own ways. And it is a journey. It is a journey. The stories you listen to, the people you listen to, you live with, their influences on you. So, and it's a vast topic. Science has not really concluded spirituality. They've not come up with any machine to measure any kind of spirit or jinn or even like angels or God. So it's not there yet. And on this note, Emil, any last words from you? Because then this is our last interview, and then off we go.
No, I enjoyed sharing the beginnings of radionics, and I'm a little bit stunned right now. So anybody that needs to be healthy, the first thing they should do is either go to the ocean or the mountains. So I'm gonna think about that all day.
Yeah,
But
absolutely.
you know, there's a lesson in that. There a lot of teachings are the five senses are valuable, but they are the great deceiver.
Yeah, they really put down our other senses, make like they say, dumbing us down. And there are more senses which you can develop. Those people who used to live in the forest, they had more senses. They could exactly see which animal is coming from the back just by doing these kinds of practices, and they had more developed senses, which we in a city life cannot even um, think of as any senses. Yeah,
Yeah, it's fear based. People aren't scared. They get hit by a car every day in Calgary, but you go to the bush and you're scared of a bear.
exactly.
Now, if you're scared though, like I had lots of teachers, like they'd go up to most any animal. I'm not saying it would happen with a wild tiger for the average yogi, but if there was a snake, they just vibrated with the snake. They had a calmness and a peace with their nervous system, and the snake would leave them alone. Or like, I've been surrounded by like literally 2 dozen bears, and I've never been attacked.
Grizzly bear?
Black bears,
Oh my goodness.
yeah, that's just where I grew up. Or elk, even running on both sides of my little sports car,
Oh my goodness.
and they seem to have fun. But I think if I had a certain fear or aggressive energy, for sure they definitely would attack.
I met old 90 years old lady in a park, and once a dog attacked her and he was about to bite her wrist, and she calmed him down by just, whispering nice, lovely stuff to him. Don't do that. Be nice, be nice. And he stopped right there. He was like, and he stopped.
Yeah,
So
I used to practice on dogs like that. And once in a while, the dog would accidentally bite me a little bit, but never did they full on it. They never attacked me.
according to her, she said the owners were, you know, asking him to do this. So she had to
Oh,
call
could
the
be,
police.
yeah.
Yeah, she called the police and the police took away their dog. So there would be some bad intentions to it. I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah, when I grew up, we used to take Doberman dogs once in a while that were beaten in the province because we had those dogs. And um, yeah, we had some that took them years and years before you can touch them. They
Okay.
attack us as children. Dangerous because they're beaten with bats or other weapons. And yeah, I remember one particular, as soon as that dog was fine, took us years. You could pat him on the head and he wouldn't bite you and he's calm. Somebody drove on the other side of the highway just to hit that dog and kill it. And so those are life lessons that are, yeah, I don't,
Yeah.
what are the meanings behind that?
Like they say, hurt people, or bad experiences leave you bitter. Yeah. But that is what we need to work on. Bad experience should not leave us bitter, and we should learn how to even love our enemies. So in a wise way, though. Yeah.
Yeah, I think radionics helps with that
Yes.
because I work a lot in that genre of healing, more
Yes.
so than just adding, changing a diet or adding more minerals or what have you. Everybody seems to be helped one way or the other with radionics, especially if that's the beauty of this art is it's for people that are probably more ready to deal with the spiritual side or the emotional side. If you're not into that, you're probably not, you think radionics is crazy and it's
Yeah,
a scam or something.
pseudoscience.
So I don't even deal with people like that anymore.
Exactly. And people would just label us as quack and pseudoscience scientists and push us down. And maybe in the future, like maybe, who knows, 10 years later, we find it approved. We find radionics in hospitals, who knows?
Oh,
But
it was approved in the 70s in Britain.
yeah, a lot of these things, therapies are approved in the Europe.
But if you don't think it'll help you, it won't help you.
Yeah.
That's why there has to be that two-way street and the buy-in from both the practitioner and the client. Because if you don't if you don't believe in it at all, your intention will block well, not any positive, but a lot of the positive. So if I'm going to go to a science setting and do work on you and you're dead set against this, I'm not going to get the results of somebody that is in
Really,
trouble and believes in it.
yeah, absolutely. So, like we discussed before, placebo, nocebo, belief systems, and all of these. And I think, Emil, we're done here, and I'll let you go. Thank you so much for your time past these all 4 days we've been recording. I hope this was beneficial for our audience. Anybody has any questions, pop them down in the comment section and you can chat with me, call me. I will leave Emil's work number down below if you want to get in touch with him for body, home, or EMF water radionics services. Thank you so much for today, Emil.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Have a good day.
You too.
Bye.